Hey, it's Jill here. We're doing the seventh insight on the Celestine prophecy. I realized that we just did daylight savings time, but I just saw a post that said Arizona does it. So I don't know if Brandon has synced to our time, but I'm here. Anita Rein should be coming. There's a dog outside who's excited. And yeah, chapter 7, engaging the flow. So I will wait for my co-host, I guess for a minute or two. There we go. All right, we got Anita Rein coming in here.
Hello.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing.
Yeah, so I just saw some posts that was talking about Arizona doesn't do daylight savings.
What?
Yeah, and I know that's where Brandon is, so if we went an hour back,
Are you sure about that? That's crazy.
I can look it up. It was just on Instagram, Instagram.
I mean, my dad mentioned that supposedly the US is trying to stop doing daylight savings in general. And I was like, it's about freaking time. But
Oh, okay, yeah. It says a majority of them stopped in 1967.
oh wow.
Well, if he comes, he comes, I guess. If not, then next time. All right, so let's jump right in. Chapter 7, engaging the flow. So the narrator, unfortunately, always in a panic, always something happening. So he's with the priest where we left off. And oh, did you want to mention anything about the last chapter? Maybe later or no? Okay.
It's too much. I need to revisit for a third time and sitting in and
The one thing I think I did see, I don't know if it was in this book or not. It was about it might have been yeah, it was with the priest when he was talking about blaming the parents, but we'll get into that. Yeah. So yeah, the priests are getting ready to make their trip, but the narrator still doesn't know what to do. He's disconnected from the energy and he's scared, so he doesn't have the clarity he needs. So they're teaching him now how to stay connected to the energy through his breath. I'll go over that later. They talk about the seventh insight with him, the process of consciously evolving yourself, staying alert to coincidences, and every answer the universe provides for me. Is that the seventh or the sixth? Oh, okay, yeah, it deals with the process. So the narrator gets reconnected to the energy. He's like having these visions of seeing Will and Marjorie, and he's seeing Will like running through some forest in danger, but it's in lieu of him finding the ninth insight. Then the narrator has a feeling he can go to basically the main priest, Cardinal Sebastian, that is trying to suppress the manuscript, and he thinks that he can convince him that it doesn't need to be suppressed. It's not as bad as they think. It's okay for people to be in control of their own evolution, etc. So he's like, okay, he's gonna go to Iquitos because that's where he thinks he sees Will. So Father Carl and Father Sebastian are gonna group up. So they tell narrator, you can take the jeep. So he's in the jeep. He's staying connected to the energy. He's driving for a couple hours without seeing anyone. Then he sees a roadblock with like a bunch of soldiers. So he turns around. I think he's like at a fork or something. And then he ends up seeing Phil, The guy from like the third chapter, who's the ecologist. That's the one who shows the narrator how to see the energy between his fingers that one morning. So he runs into him. They end up getting caught though by some soldiers, but they took Phil and his group one way, and then the narrator they brought alone somewhere. So while he's riding around with the soldiers for like a long time, he reflects on the coincidence of running into Phil, then has a dream where he finds a secret key. Then he's brought to a prison cell where he meets Pablo, who's like his cellmate. Then he has another dream where he's also searching for the key, but he didn't end up grabbing the key because he falls into a river, and then he ends up like fighting the current, so he never gets to the key. Then he wakes up. So Pablo's there too because he's familiar with the manuscript, and he's obviously pro manuscript. So he tells the narrator about the seventh insight that you have to look at your dreams, like you have to be the observer in your dream and compare the story of the dream to the story of your life. Whoops. Okay, yeah, so compare the story of the dream to the story of your life. That will tell you what you're missing. You have to ask why those thoughts came at that time, how they relate to the questions that you have in your mind and your being. And when we are able to do that consistently, that's what keeps us in the flow of evolution. So he's wondering about the dream he just had where if he didn't fight the current, would that have brought him to the key? Even though it seemed scary and it seemed like that it might have killed him, he was saying he saw that it was in the direction of the key. So maybe if he was more passive, he might have gotten the key. So now he's reflecting on what that might mean for him right now. So he's thinking if he can be passive right now instead of immediately, trying to escape or figure out what's going on, he'll get the answers he's looking for. So the next day, Pablo and the narrator are brought to the cafeteria for breakfast, and the narrator sees his favorite person, Marjorie, there, and they sit down and start eating. And
I mean, his business.
they sit down to start eating, and Cardinal Sebastian walks by, and the narrator and him actually have a stare down. But this is before the narrator is able to put the name to the face, so he doesn't really know who he is, but there's obviously some type of connection already there between them. He walks by, and then one of them is like, "Oh, that's Sebastian," and he's like, "Oh, that's Sebastian," kind of thing. But after breakfast, they take the narrator and Pablo outside for exercise, and they start talking about more of the seventh. Also replacing negative thoughts or scenarios with the best or better outcome continuously until they kind of slow down or stop happening. And then once you know the vibration of your intuitions, anything negative should be taken more seriously. But in the meantime, while you're building it, try to stay positive on the outcomes. So the narrator is then brought back inside to Father Costas. Yeah, so the narrator is then brought inside to Father Costos, and he's the one who's questioning all the prisoners, like, hey, how did you get copies of the manuscripts? Who gave it to you? Blah, blah, blah. The narrator's like, I need a lawyer before I answer any questions. Very American. And and so the narrator tries to kind of basically starts, poking at, hey, so why don't you like this thing? So the priest is basically like, you, in terms of seeing where your controlled drama came from, he's taking it as you're blaming the parents, which undermines the family setting. He's saying, parents do the best they can. I'm sure we all believe that. And children must forgive them. But I think it doesn't mean you can't also positively reflect. And even though sometimes we do our best, I feel like parenting, it happens for so long, it's not like a quick thing. It's very consistent. So, there's going to be mistakes, there's going to be hard times, I'm sure by experience, right? Being parented and a parent. But yeah, sometimes you got to reflect and understand why things are happening to you. And it's not from a place of bashing, but it's a place from, this is honestly how it went for me. And if you front on it, it doesn't help you, so don't attack people about it, but, acknowledge and then be able to reflect on and understand why, so you can know your control drama.
Mm.
Um, so the narrator's like, I'm not ready to tell you anything right now, basically. So he's like, you have until the morning. And he actually upsets the priest when he, brings him out of character a little bit, because he's so passionate about trying to stop the manuscript from being spread out anymore. So, even though they're in some type of jail, he threatens them with like real prison, I guess. So now it's lunchtime. They go back to the cafeteria, but Marjorie is not there. So he's talking to Pablo, but then he drifts off into another vision where he's running to freedom. So Pablo's like, "Oh, what happened?" He's like, "Oh, I drifted off." He was like, "I was thinking about Marjorie, but I also had the vision of me running to freedom." So he's like, "Oh, maybe you'll be escaping with her." Foreshadowing. So they go back to the cell, and then they start talking about the next insight, which is one that like about consciously sending people energy, because it helps them reach a better state of clarity to help deliver any truth we might need from them. Because they're saying that's why we meet certain people. Like, for example, when the narrator just saw Phil at the crossroads, that was the perfect time that he met him. And they go to the narrator. They're like, "Hey, you're going to speak to Cardinal Sebastian tomorrow, because they want to know how you ended up with Father Carl's truck, one of the priests." So they're like, if you got this truck from the priest, then obviously one of our priests are helping spread information of the manuscript. So he got pushed up the ladder. And then also they said they would be transporting him to Iquitos, which is where he was trying to drive through the whole time. So it's like, okay, so yeah, he didn't resist. I mean, he didn't resist. He went with what was happening, and now he's going to get transported exactly to where he needs, and he's going to be able to talk to exactly the person he needs to talk to. And hopefully, Will be there when he gets there. Okay, that is the summary. Any thoughts, queries,
I had a
comments?
couple of thoughts. Like especially with the dreams, like because dreams are so important and they give us messages. And sometimes, like, so I've always had dreams, like really vivid, wild dreams as long as I can remember. Like, I remember being in high school every morning, my friends would be like, okay, what was your dream last night? Because I would just share with them. And they were always like really crazy dreams. And like, it was fun, to talk about it. And I didn't understand them most of the time. But then as I got older, I'm like, oh, they're like messages coming. It's not just like, it's fun to talk about and like make a whole thing out of it, but it's not just like random stuff. Sometimes there's random stuff in there, but a lot of it is important messages, like our subconscious working through what's happening in our waking life. Sometimes it's just stuff getting spit back out, like if we were watching a certain movie or, reading a certain book, whatever, just stuff getting spit back at us. But sometimes it can be really, really important messages. Um, and it could be worth it to spend a few minutes trying to decipher it on your own. Occasionally I'll like look up like what does this symbol mean or what is like, but sometimes like that kind of can like throw you off because you'll find like 10 different answers for one thing and you're like, well, which one is it? And you get like kind of hooked on what the internet's telling you.
Hmm.
I think if like you kind of like reflect on it more on your own, but it's helpful in terms of like if there's a certain symbol. Like last night there was a stingray in my dream, so I looked up like, okay, what does a stingray symbolize? Why did that pop up in my dream? But I just like I found that really interesting in this chapter. Because the guy, I think it was Pablo, was trying to help him like navigate his dream, and he's like, well, maybe it means this. He's like, well, you said you were doing that, and like, trying to like be like help him navigate and understand his dream and take it to mean more than he initially thought.
Yeah,
And
facts.
then I also read it said bad dreams have the most important messages.
Mm.
And that was really interesting too, because like I'm sure you've had some bad dreams in your day, and I've had some crazy bad dreams where I wake up crying, or like I can't go back to sleep, or I do go back to sleep, and then the dream will continue, and I'm like, damn it. So that's something I never really thought about. I thought bad dreams were just like bad energy or bad thoughts or whatever. I never really thought of deciphering those so much.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Yeah, when people tell me their dreams, I usually at the end I ask them, "Oh, what do you think it means?" But I don't remember my dreams often, if ever. But I'm
Oh
aware.
wow.
Yeah, they say you dream like every night. You just don't remember them. Because yeah, the
Yeah.
body needs sleep, but the spirit might need to recharge, but it don't really need to rest. So it's doing its thing. You feel me? But the
Yeah,
only
my mind never rests.
the only dream.
Did you ever like consciously try to remember them though? Like there's different ways that you can do that. I'm just curious.
Okay, so there is kind of one thing. There's one recurring kind of dream I have where I travel. It's kind of like my real life where I go to this mountain a lot. But it's kind of like it's like one of those man-made paths where it's not paved, but so many people go the same way that you can see. So it's that, and it's like each time I go, I try to go a different route, in the dream, up the mountain just to hang and chill. But I don't know, I just do it for fun. I feel like I don't know if there's any significance other than like missing nature, wanting to reconnect with nature, be alone or something like that. And then there's one dream I remember growing up when we were in high school. There was like mice in the garage. And then I had a dream that a rat was chasing me like around the house outside.
Oh no.
Have you ever written them down, or do you have a dream journal or anything?
Yeah, I'm not consistent with it. Like I said, I always have like really vivid, wild dreams. But I don't really keep them written down because it's just so much. And I'm not good at keeping consistent with it. But for a time, I actually think I still have some of the drawings. I was having some really, really bad dreams. And I was like, maybe it'd be helpful for like me to draw these things out because it was like really creepy images.
Mm.
And like, it kind of sounds weird, but like drawing the images like helped get them out of my head. Like getting it down on paper, then I'm like, okay, it's over there now. So I was like, I have some like creepy drawings from bad dreams I had. And I definitely have like I always keep a notebook, have like a whole cabinet full of notebooks, and I'm sure I have like a few different dreams written down on those.
You gonna keep all your notebooks forever?
I mean, that's the plan, but I think at some point I have to go through and tear out the pages because I have everything in my notebooks. Like I have a grocery list next to like a song lyric, next to like me writing my food diary, like my food
Right.
journal. So it's like most of it's nonsense, and then there's some gems in there.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Whatever works. All right. So the chakras.
Mm.
I'm obviously thinking third eye, right? Dreaming. It says throat here. Not sure. I'm thinking. Um, so we have evolution of the new cells relying. more on intuition, mind, on intuition, and dreams.
I mean, I could see where it could be the throat chakra because he's like gonna be able to speak more of like the truth of what's been going on. Not that it's been a secret, but like it's been a secret to the government. So now he's like starting to getting to vocalize that.
And he has to do that very carefully and very smooth
Yeah.
and calmly, because if once the priest get upset, if he gets upset too, it can turn into an energy competition really quick. But if he can right balance and remember why he's doing it, remember why you're doing it, then he can communicate that better. So I have rainbow fluorite. I've probably done this before, but this one's good for mental clarity. So this might be one that I would start with. Also, probably if you smoke weed a lot, then you don't remember your dreams. But this is good for clarity, mental powers, thoughts, emotional management. So if you start with this, maybe that will help you get to the space of remembering your dreams. And I have appetite. You know what lucid dreaming is? You want to say it? Can you say it?
If I remember correctly, lucid dreaming's like when you can manipulate your dreams and like be in charge of them.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're more conscious during your dreams to make decisions and move around than just being the complete observer. So there's some people who are really good at it who can do it, without any help. But otherwise, if you need a little help, you can try blue appetite.
Sounds so pretty.
Yeah, it is a very pretty one. Psychic activation, it will cleanse your brain space, helps with intuition, memory, inner healing, and lucid dreaming. So you can place it under your pillow. That's probably the best, especially if you sleep wild, because it might end up somewhere else. You can also meditate with it and throw it on your third eye, or like when you're sleeping and know, oh, okay, I'm about to do my lucid dreaming.
Sorry, picture you actually throwing it.
I feel like when I don't plan where the crystals go, they end up in wild places when I wake up. So gotta plan it out, or I'll be looking for them. Yeah. So this helps. This also helps clear your mental space to receive new information and knowledge. So if it's feeling tight and packed in there, yeah. So I also have blue kyanite. It's like one of these. Communication, soothing, calm. So that's good for your throat and your third eye. Psychic abilities, and this one is also good for, it says it helps practice navigation and helps with the intensity of lucid dreaming. And if you feel like all that's child's play, this is good for telepathy as well. All right, iolite. So iolite's cool. It also helps with purging. So like if there's stuff in you that you need to get rid of because you need more space for the good energy, this will help release that which is not serving you. It helps with self-awareness, inner visions, it's calming, and it helps with resourcefulness. It also helps with meditation. So I wouldn't recommend grabbing all these at once. Maybe try one at a time, but if you feel like you need it, it sounds like a great combo. Or like even like a grid that you put nearby your bed or sleeping space. Yeah, reduces migraines, enjoy a more peaceful rest. Yeah, I would recommend maybe that and the amethyst if the dreams are bad or nightmarish to make them a little more calming, maybe. Still gonna have the messages, but maybe just a little more calming. Yeah. So yeah, did you have any yogas that came to mind or anything?
The first thing that came to mind was really just like, especially with the third eye, I would say like finish with a long meditation. Like when I think of the third eye, I know there's yoga that can help, but really like just the easy seat and laying down like in Shavasana, like just plainly laying on your back. I would use the crystal on my forehead,
Yep.
or massage your forehead. And I would also use like music because I remember a few different times taking yoga, and it was with this one specific teacher too. She did like a long, like 15, 20-minute meditation at the end, and like having like visions come to me, um, just from laying in Shavasana. But I feel like going through a flow
Right.
and then ending in that is gonna help with the third eye the most.
Why do you think that is?
What, going through the flow, or just like,
No, like I find that too. Like if you do some yoga first and then meditate, it's like it's a different kind of meditation. Like it's not the same as
I mean, I would think it's because like you're really like waking up your body. Like if you're just sedentary and try to meditate, like the energy's not really flowing. You feel all cramped up, like it gets your muscles like worked and relaxed. And it gets all the energy flowing through your body. It's really hard for mental clarity and for like visions and all these things to come to you without moving, without like physically moving your body and like spiritually moving that energy.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I feel like even like something like going on a run or a good bike ride just
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. But yeah, when I was told you I was doing some of your yoga and I feel like because I had done it before I meditated, or did I? No, I had meditated already, and then I went to do your yoga, but I was still having so many thoughts. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even really focus. So I had to use, some more breaths, some, really rooting my breaths into like, hey, this is yoga time, not think really hard about stuff time.
Mhm.
And then you had a nice meditation at the end, and I was like, right now, but not but by the end, obviously the thoughts weren't as consistent and as all over the place. It was much more calm and sort of like, okay, I'm calm, I'm here. So yeah, I would recommend having a little daydream. Oh yeah, because they say daydreams and visions are also a part of the insight where you can take a step back and look at them and find messages or find whatever clarity you need to find. So I wanted to mention how he told him to stay connected to the energy, even like when there's no nature around. So he had him first remember how he felt when he was on top of the mountain, just to be aware of the state you can get back into.
Mhm.
He's telling him, I try to breathe in the energy that I've connected with, um, and then you visualize the breath coming into you, and you hold it for a couple seconds as if you're really trying to absorb that energy from that breath, like the prana, like really get it, become one with it. And then he says, after I breathe in the energy, I check to see if I have the right emotion. And he's like, you talking about love? And he's like, yes, that's the true measure of whether I'm really connected. And then he's like, love is not an intellectual concept or a moral imperative. It is a background emotion that exists when
My
one.
God. I read that quote and I was like, I need to write it down, and then I went back and I couldn't find it. I'm like, where did this quote go?
Right. Yeah, that's a good
I'm
one.
so glad you said that.
Right. It is a background emotion that exists when one is connected to the energy available in the universe, which is of course the energy of God. Yeah, that's a good one. Um,
Mhm.
have you tried this, you think, yet, since we've been reading the book?
Try what?
Like
Just
just
receiving the love
yeah,
in?
breathing it in, yeah, taking a moment to like just breathe in some love when you're feeling down.
Yeah, I have. I probably could stand to do it even more than I have been. But like I did it earlier today because I was just in a really cruddy mood, like, and then the first email I see at work is like this this client saying how unprofessional, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm like the most professional person here. But all right, anyway, that's besides the point. So I gave myself a minute to like be really annoyed and PO'd at this customer, and then I was like, all right, does this really affect me? And I like took a deep breath in, and I'm like, it doesn't need to, and tried to fill myself with the positivity and love. It was hard, but then when I was reading, actually, when I read that quote, I was like, and I'm reading the chapter, and I just like took a deep breath in. It was like, I can't remember if it was there or another part in the chapter, and it said like that you can just take in the love and just feel better. And it's like, it's really that simple. Like you could be in horrible physical pain from depression, but like if you just breathe and like let the love in, you can really just like shift your whole physical and mental feeling. But it gets hard because we can really get stuck in those places.
Yeah, that's facts. That's big facts. You gotta remember to choose love, but sometimes that seems hard, especially when everyone around us don't seem like they are choosing love. But we gotta remember.
Yeah. And sometimes it like it's like we're masoch. I mean, I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm a masochist and like I like to feel that sad and pain and like I just want to be like angry and then it's like, but stop. Like you don't have to feel that. Like feel it and then move on, you
Right,
know?
right. I like what you said about giving yourself the space to feel it first. Yeah, definitely. Because
Yeah.
that's how I'll go through. I'll journal where I'll let myself, be upset. Talk about what you wish the other person would have, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, you got to reflect on yourself, and take responsibility and be accountable. But sure, get this out now, get it out, and don't be trying to hold on to it because if that's something we front on, then later you're holding on to it and reacting off of that instead of just letting it out. I think they had something
Mm-hmm.
where they were talking about Beyonce gives herself 24 hours to cry about something, and then she never reflects on it again or something like that. But
That's something I'm kind of like I don't know about because if you never reflect on it again or never like come back to it again, like can the same pattern like be repeated? Like I think it's important to remember the sad stuff, the hurt, the negative stuff, just for the fact of like trying not to go back to that,
right, facts. And
depending on the situation.
healing is non-linear, so you might give a dedicated
Yeah,
right to do it, but if it comes back later, don't ignore it or say, I'm over
right. Because then it's like, are you suppressing it instead of working through it and continuing forward? Is that going to show up in a horrible like shoulder pain that all the doctors saying you're fine and you can't figure out why the fuck you can't move your shoulder?
this is literally how it goes. Thank you for saying,
Yeah.
because that's really it. And then when it's too late, we reply on the discipline of taking pills instead of the discipline of tuning
And
into.
it's not going to help you. Like, it's not going to help you.
It's probably going to be a lot more expensive.
Oh, yeah. And like I know so many stories of people who've like gone and gotten surgery and taking pills and doing all these things and they're not better. Like why do you think you haven't gotten better? But it's getting me upset.
You got to
Do the
build
work.
discipline. They think the discipline of taking the pills is going to solve it, when it's probably just numbing the pain.
Just like the discipline of working out every single day or 5 times a day a week or whatever it is, like you have to put in the work. Like when it comes to healing, when it comes to like healing your body, your spirit, your mind, like you have to continuously doing it. It's not something that like, oh, I got the easy fix. I'm gonna take this pill and I have six pack abs. Like that's marketing. That's not gonna actually get you the results that you need.
That's facts. That's facts.
I'm passionate about this if you can't tell.
And even when you have the crystals are tools. They're not going to do the work for you. You have to use them on yourself. But yeah, right. There's no crystal big enough that you can just, like you have to use them actively. There's something else I was going to say. Yeah, because that's where diseases start, all the disease on the non-physical, the inner levels. And if we don't take care of that habit, then it spills out physically. And that's the final notification, basically, that something needs to change. But by then it's pretty late. I don't want to say it's too late, but it's pretty late by then. So I just before we wrap it up, I was just wondering if I'll start with mine. If you want to share after, you don't have to. But I think my control dramas are interrogator and aloof. And I think my parents would my mom always had this thing where I didn't grow up with her. So she would come visit. But see her, I don't even know. Maybe if it was once or twice a month, which was fine. But when I would see her, she wouldn't be like, "Hey, miss you." How she'd be like, "Oh, you came out the house in those pants," or she'd be like, "What happened to your hair?" And sometimes I would start crying, honestly.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, but I was also kind of a bully growing up. Maybe still now, but kind of a bully.
What?
So, but then it also makes you sometimes aloof, or I guess in that case, self-conscious. But the same thing where, honestly, even until I moved to Atlanta last year, my mom, I wouldn't tell them what I was doing until it was done because they try to like poke holes in your plan instead of like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
understand,
Encouraging or just listen.
I understand trying to make me aware, but also help and then push me. But it was always just kind of, what, you doing that? That's crazy. And it was never, okay, well, this is how I can help, or this is what I suggest, or try it like this, or even good job, which I had to tell them, like, I bought a car, I got an apartment, and you never even said that you were proud of me. You feel me? So I had to tell them that. I told them if they don't have anything positive to say, don't talk to me. Yeah, so I see how that made me like aloof, not wanting to tell people things, trying to wait until it's done. But I think it helps. It helps people on my journey. It helps people on their journey to be able to share and not worry like what someone's gonna think or how they're gonna rate on it. But that also teaches you who to kind of share your plans with and who to, just kind of keep with. How about you?
I'm definitely like the aloof drama. I remember growing up, I still hate confrontation now, so I'll like try to do everything I can to avoid it. And I like work much better like texting people than like talking in person because I can't always articulate things or feel comfortable articulating things.
Right.
And then growing up as well, like my mom and my sister clashed a lot, and I remember, and my parents parents clashed a lot too. So I remember I was always the one who was like, "Oh yeah, look at this!" Like trying to like just bring it to something else, change the topic, So I'm definitely the aloof one. I think sometimes, or I'm aloof and poor me, cause like I'm always like sad and.
Well, you're a Pisces, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And I always felt like I know, like I try not to make myself feel the victim, I try not to make myself seem like I'm the victim all the time, but I just feel so deeply and get so sad that I'm like, oh, this is happening to me. And I'm like, but then I feel guilty that I'm making myself the victim. So then I just feel worse. But anyway, yeah, I would say aloof and poor me. I don't really want to get into my parents'
I feel you.
On here, but if you want to talk separately, we can do
that. Yeah, I hear you. But as long as you are, aware of it and not fronting on it, that is good. That is great. Okay. I think that It's everything. Yeah, crystals under your pillow. Keep your dream journal nearby if you don't remember them later in the day. Look up things that seem weird or recurring that you're not sure of. Ask that weird friend who knows stuff, you know. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Love you. See you next week.
Love you.